And this might sound relatively straightforward. You just make life decisions based on what's important to you, and then you live your life in that way. But in actuality, sometimes our authentic life choices can go against what society or our friends or our colleagues or our family think we should be doing. So for example, when I was working at Harvard Medical School, after a while of working there, I started to realize that that job was no longer honoring what I valued, and I was no longer feeling how I wanted to feel every day. And so I made the very difficult but authentic decision to quit my job at Harvard. And I ended up living in a cabin in the woods for 2 months, and then I moved to Europe. Now, this was not an easy decision to make. There were people in my life who believed I was making a mistake professionally by quitting Harvard. But it was a decision that was true and authentic for me. So our authentic life choices, they won't always be easy, but they'll always be worth it because they help us live with integrity. And so after we've made these authentic life decisions, our job is then to use discernment to evaluate the results of our decisions. So in other words, we evaluate which path we're on. We can ask ourselves, has this decision resulted in me moving upstream, or am I moving downstream? And there are a few hints that we can use in order to figure out whether we're engaged in downstream effort. And the first of these is that when we're engaged in downstream effort, I believe we're more likely to experience something called psychological flow. And when we're experiencing psychological flow, some of you might have experienced it before. We sometimes experience it when we're engaged in things like music or art. When we're engaged in psychological flow, we're so absorbed and engaged in what we're doing that time seems to get distorted. So time might feel like it speeds up or slows down. You might not notice time going by. It can be very difficult to distract you from what you're doing. The telephone could ring and you might not even notice it. And you might even be so absorbed and engaged in what you're doing that you become almost one with the activity. So for example, in the moments before an athlete scores an incredible goal, they might feel like time slows down for them. They might not hear the audience around them, and they might feel like their body moves almost effortlessly in the service of scoring that goal. And in my opinion, psychological flow is actually the epitome of downstream effort, because we're trying, but it doesn't feel like we're trying. Now, another hint that you can use to find out if you're engaged in downstream effort is that sometimes synchronicity might be more likely to pop up in your life. So the perfect people, places, or opportunities might arise for you without you feeling like you had to engage in that much effort in order to make those things happen. So if you're engaged in downstream effort, the idea is to stay on that path because authentic success is likely to follow. Now notice I use the word authentic success here. So your success might not look successful to the people around you, but it will feel successful for you internally. So for example, someone who gets a divorce after spending years in an inauthentic marriage, their life might not look very successful on the outside. So they might lose their home, they might lose some access to their children, they might lose some income. However, their decision and their life will feel authentic for them. Now, if, on the other hand, you engage in an authentic life decision and it feels like you're engaged in upstream effort,